Third, the world political order and the relationship between the two concepts of human rights and national sovereignty. First and foremost, we must be aware that the current world political order, in principle through the institution called the United Nations, is a world order constructed in accordance with the will of the victorious powers in the Second World War, comprising the USA, United Kingdom, France, Republic of China, of Chiang Kai-shek, and the Soviet Union, but subject to a few events altering the status quo. Above all, this order reflects the might of the victors, among whom the USA prevail. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, passed by the General Assembly of the United Nations on 10 December 1948, is a document reflecting the values seen through the eyes of the USA and Western Europe. Communist countries under the leadership of the Soviet Union only accept them perfunctorily and do not respect them in practice. Then, the position of the Republic of China in the powerful Security Council of the UN becomes indefensible, after the Nationalist Party of China lost mainland China to the Communist Party of China in 1949. On 23 November 1971, the People's Republic of China formally replaced the Republic of China, Taiwan, in the Security Council, and the influence of the Communist bloc was enhanced. With the arrival of the 90s, the Soviet Union and Communist East Europe collapsed. A Russia weaker in all respects replaced the Soviet Union in the Security Council. From then on, the power of the free world vastly exceeds that of dictators, including the Communist bloc, economically, militarily, and morally, including the aspect of human rights. First, definition of national sovereignty. Before the proclamation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, the concept of national sovereignty was an absolute concept. This concept can be defined as the supreme, absolute, and uncontrollable power by which an independent state is governed, and from which all specific political powers are derived. The intentional independence of a state, combined with the right and power of regulating its internal affairs without foreign interference. The Free Legal Dictionary. Second, definition of human rights. Meanwhile, the concept of human rights may be defined simply as fundamental rights pertaining to an individual person. Due to its importance, this concept has been spelled out in detail in the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 through 30 specific articles. Human rights are also extrapolated in various respects, such as the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, Covenant on the Rights of the Child, and United Nations Convention Against Torture.